Hi everyone. In this clip, we're going to be going through the last few steps for being able to create something and understanding the user interface inside of ZBrush. So we've got one ear, as you can see here, but we kind of want two. So how are we going to start to do that? Well, one of the ways that's useful, I find, is go into our geometry button here. And there's loads of options in here. It's basically really hard to go through all the various things that ZBrush has. There's loads of really good ones. But in here, the main thing I want to deal with is under Modify Topology, my favorite one, Mirror and Weld. If I click that, you'll see it's right now saying the resulting 3D mesh does not contain any polygons. Basically, that's because Mirror and Weld is going to take whatever information is on this side and duplicate it over here. But the problem is there's nothing there, and will make this disappear. So we don't want that. So in this case, we just got to scroll on down to our deformation area, and we're going to press Mirror on the x-axis, and we'll see which way that goes. Perfect. So it could have been potentially any of these other axes, depending on where you were sculpting, but in this case, it works the way that we wanted it to. So that's great. We've got that there. Well, now what we want to do is scroll back up here into our Mirror and Weld, and just click that, and it appears on the other side just the way that we wanted it to. If it didn't, then keep in mind, again, we've got our move tool. If we press X now, you'll see that we can actually start to move and replace this. I could also start to adjust here, maybe pick a cross at this point. I could use rotate to even just start to rotate this object, which is one of the transpose tools that we did not cover. If you were to click through the center on this one, basically it's going to rotate along the direction of that line. So for example, if I rotate through here, then it's going to just rotate along the axis as if this was a stick that it was skewered through. Now I could click one of these buttons, for example, and you'll see that now this line goes straight out. Try to imagine which way it's going to rotate if I press this. Think about that skewer option again and where that's going to go. So it's basically rotating along that hinge as if there was a pole going through it. Same here. Imagine where it's going to rotate next, and then you can kind of see what's going to happen there. So that's basically how rotate works. You can do lots of different stuff with it, just depending on where you rotate from. This point ends up being its rotation pivot axes, unless you're clicking through the center. So just here, I can kind of adjust and figure out where I want that to go. So again, just press T a couple times. Now, let's say I actually want to integrate this ear a little bit better with the rest of this head. It's not really particularly integrated at the moment, but I am just, again, because this is fantasy, let's just pull that ear out a little bit more, make this guy real fantasy right away. So in this case, unfortunately, I don't have anything that's showing up through here. Well, what we want to do is just merge these two together. So let's scroll up here into our subtool area, and you'll see we've got two subtools. If I click this top one, I can scroll on down here to merge, and I can say merge down. If I say merge down, what's going to happen is it's not an undoable operation, so just keep that in mind, but I can say OK or always OK, which skips until I restart, which is useful when you're doing this a lot. So I'll just say OK for now, and now these two are together. If I smooth them out, you'll notice, though, that they don't seem to necessarily actually be connected. They're not really smoothing together in a consistent way. That's because they are not actually the same exact mesh. You can see with Shift F, polyframe view, you can see that I've got actually two different colors here. Those are different polyframes. So these basically are different kinds of poly groups that we've got here that are of different colors. So they don't necessarily actually exist as the same mesh right now. If I were to Control Shift click, then I would actually just see these pieces. Control Shift click deals with masking of different visibilities. So if I Control Shift click into this empty space again, that's pretty good. But I could also, if I hold Control Shift, you'll see I'm in Select Rect mode. If I drag out from here, I've got a different colored mask to work with. If I let go, then I'm basically just masking out this one section, and I could get rid of the rest. So it's a form of masking based on visibility. This becomes useful when you've got really complex meshes, but not super useful for this specific situation. If I wanted to combine these together, remember, I've got Dynamesh still technically turned on through here. If I were to click it and turn it back on again, everything's going to Dynamesh. If I undo that operation, let's just remember, if I just click and drag with Control held, I will also redo that Dynamesh operation. So now these two pieces are together, and I can actually get the results that I want here. Great. So now that I've got this all set up, in our next clip, we're going to start looking at how we can set up our own custom user interface to make this process just a little bit easier for us and a bit more intuitive for when we're starting out.